sense here!
Go.
I'm joking! No!
Fuck this shit, I'm jerking off.
What the fuck?
You picked the wrong house, fool!
Don't care. Still don't care.
Please! Nope.
Hello.
You stupid.
No! I don't want to die! No! Please! Stop!
What he's doing?
Tactical nuke incoming!
Holy Jesus.
You should kill yourself now!
You stupid.
Now you fucked up!
Dark Souls 2 is probably the worst entry into the Souls series, and it's definitely my favorite one that's been made.
It's not good.
So when the 10-year anniversary came around, I wanted to do a new playthrough since I haven't in years. And coming back to Dark Souls 2, now that my brain is fully cooked, shows me that despite being a professional Dark Souls 2 dick rider, there are plenty of valid criticisms for it. However, despite its flaws, Dark Souls 2 does a lot right, especially when it comes to the PvP. There's a reason that I was able to sink like several thousand hours into Dark Souls 2, but not really any other game in the series. The game is endlessly replayable as well, due to the fact that there are more weapons and builds in the game than there are people who have fucked your mother, with nearly every single one being able to be made viable for PvP and PvE. Dark Souls 2 has a type of weapon for basically every build and playstyle you can think of, and the weapon upgrade and fusion system allows for lots of experimentation with different builds, and it's so simple that even a common Reddit user could figure it out. It really feels like Dark Souls 2 was built specifically with PvP and especially invasions in mind, considering how easy they made it to level up and make a build, and how little restrictions there are on invasions, not to mention the dedicated PvP arenas. There's a big focus on playing against others in this game. And since 90% of the player base doesn't care at all about invasions and would rather not be bothered in their Le Epic single-player experience, Dark Souls 2 received a review of game bad for most people who only played Dark Souls 1 for the PvE. But what's wrong with Dark Souls 2? There are too many issues. Too many. With most of them being caused by the dog developers trying to improve on gameplay from the previous two Souls games. Dark Souls 1 had an interconnected world where most of the points of interest looped back around to Firelink Shrine, which was your hub. And Demon Souls had a hub world that would teleport you to different levels to play on. Dark Souls 2 basically tried to mesh together and find a balance between the first two Souls games by making a hub world that stretched out in multiple directions towards various places you needed to go, and then would teleport you back. But when you mesh together good game design with other good game design, it doesn't automatically make the best game design ever, and it can end up feeling more of a mess than the US highway system. Another main criticism of Dark Souls 2 is the enemy placement, which from the very beginning of the game feels like baby's first Mario Maker level with the sheer amount of enemy spam in the areas. This is probably an attempt by the developers to stop players from simply running past every single enemy in the levels like they could in Dark Souls 1, but it just ends up being annoying, especially for long boss run backs. And it's not like it's that bad to fight enemies again to go back to a boss fight, but that leads to another issue, which is the weapon durability meter. The developers seem to try and fix the annoying weapon durability issues from Dark Souls 1 by changing the mechanics so the durability resets at every bonfire rest. But the issue with that is that the weapons have the durability of an iPhone 5, and just trying to kill every enemy from the bonfire to the boss will inevitably break or nearly break your weapon. Speaking of bad mechanics, we can talk about the bad stat of Dark Souls 2, adaptability. It's a pretty simple system. How it works is that if your adaptability goes up, your agility goes up, and when your agility goes up, you heal faster and get more iframes in your rolls. This has often been regarded as idiotic, because why the fuck do I have to spend my first 20 levels of my brand new character on no helpful stats just so that I can dodge the most telegraphed attack ever and not get hit literally in the middle of my roll? I can assume that this was added so that not everyone would min-max their armor to fast roll like they had to do in Dark Souls 1, allowing them to have a little more freedom in their weapon and armor choices. But to tell you why it causes more bad than good, I have to tell you about another terrible mechanic called soul memory, which was FromSoft's bare bones attempts at fixing twinking, even though it didn't work at all. Soul memory would keep track of all the souls collected in Dark Souls 2 and would separate players into tiers depending on how much they had, just like how your savings account balance separates you into social tiers in real life. The obvious issue that comes with that is that because you can lose all your souls and you have to spend them on more than just leveling up, you could end up way under or way over leveled for the people that you're actually playing with. You could have stopped leveling at level 250, but the guy you just invaded never stopped leveling, and he's level 700 with 99 in all stats, and completely steamrolls you, while you can't even hit him, because he has 16 iframes when he rolls. Even if you could hit him, he can heal back to max health basically instantly. This encourages everyone to get to maximum level and turns basically all build diversity off, because everybody wants to use the strongest weapons they can get their hands on just to compete. But just like how there is a yin for every yang, for every bad part of Dark Souls 2, there is something just as good. Some of the textures and level design might look like a 9-year-old's Roblox horror game, but the nice looking parts of the game are really nice, especially the fashion. Dark Souls 2 has more armor choices than most people know what to do with, and many pieces of them will interact with other pieces to look nicer. Also, mixing and matching armor sets together is highly encouraged, since different parts of different sets give you certain unique buffs. Dark Souls 2 also added tons of quality of life changes that made it and all future FromSoft games much more digestible to the common gamer. This includes, but is not limited to, being able to teleport to different bonfires as soon as the game starts, a weapon upgrade system that doesn't feel like it was designed by someone with dementia, allowing for the summoning of way more phantoms than the previous two games, a PvP arena that isn't dogshit, the ability to respec your stats, power stancing weapons, an Estus upgrade system that makes sense, certain weapons' unique moves on L2, which was basically the precursor to weapon orts, backstabs being an animation instead of being an instant bullshit attack that relies on people not having Zimbabwean internet to be fair, guard breaks not being useless, and other things that I couldn't think of. Dark Souls 2 also had some other ideas that didn't really make it into other games, but definitely weren't the worst thing that FromSoft has ever come up with. Like the hard mode Covenant, the ring that turns your fists into nuclear bombs, bonfire aesthetics, the weapon that turns you into a kung fu master, the mundane infusion, throwable items that breaks people's equipment to traumatize them for being AFK, weapons that let you launch or flatten other players, spells that cost souls to use and do more damage the more souls you have, being able to invade solo hosts even when they're hollowed, and a PvP system that actually is responsive with the ability to punish players for mistakes instead of just being able to roll spam out of everything. Overall, it's safe to say that Dark Souls 2 didn't have the best ideas or the worst ideas, but definitely had the most ideas, and I think that's what makes it special. And a lot of these ideas cost Dark Souls 2 its player base on release, but now, 10 years later, people are finally giving it a shot, so there's still plenty of people to invade. So maybe it being labeled as a bad game from the beginning actually helped in the long run. Or maybe it's just bad, and I'm truly coping. Who knows?